everybody in the world. You are with Maturing with COA. My name is Carolyn Carger, and I am with COA. And today I'm super excited to spend a little bit more time talking with two of my friends, authors Bob and Fran German. Welcome, Bob and Fran.
Thank you.
Hi,
How are you?
we're great.
We're better than ever.
Good. You look fantastic.
Well, we work at it.
Well,
I
it's
think
so
you have to, but we feel totally energized and looking forward to our talk today.
great. And I just want to let everybody who is joining us live know that since the way we're doing this with the technology, there is a delay. So we are not able to respond directly to any of your questions or your comments. So if you could, please leave them anyway. And then after this show is over, we'll be able to come on in and answer your questions or write down your notes. If you have questions that you'd like us to ask Bob and Fran, then we'll be able to do that afterwards and we'll be able to get back to you. But the reason for our conversation is that Bob and Fran are going to be hosting a brand new program through River House Presents called Being Young at Any Age with Bob and Fran. And in our last conversation, we got their life story, we got their story of their romance, and we got some details about what inspired them to write the book. But today, what I'd like to talk to in a little bit more detail is how Bob and Fran came to be in the state of great health that they are, knowing, which we found out last time we spoke, that they both dealt with serious illnesses that were life-threatening. So if you don't mind sharing with us how you were able to overcome those obstacles, I think people would get a lot out of it.
Okay, I'm always happy to share my story because I think that it's kind of strange that in the medical profession, you're often told that you have something that's incurable and, it's kind of hopeless. Let me just tell you my story. In the fall of 1992, I woke up one morning and I couldn't open one eye. I had been experiencing some minor muscle changes, but didn't give it too much thought until that morning. I called my doctor. He had me come right over. We were living in South Florida at the time, in Plantation, Florida, just west of Fort Lauderdale. Those were the days when you could call your doctor and he would see you right away. This was 1992. I go in, he takes one look at me, and he said, "I think you have Bell's palsy." And I looked at him and I said, "No, I think I have myasthenia gravis." Now, let me tell you, I don't know where this came from because it's a very rare disease that many doctors don't know much about. But intuitively, I came up with that. He sent me across the street to a neurologist. The neurologist gave me a quick test. My eye popped open, and he said, "You do have myasthenia gravis."
Wow.
And he put me on prednisone and some other drugs and said that I will feel better.
You want to explain what it is?
Yeah, myasthenia gravis is it's a neuromuscular disease that's very serious. Myasthenia gravis in Greek means severe muscle weakness.
Oh.
And many of you probably never heard of it. The only two people that I ever heard of that were famous that had it was Aristotle Onassis and Anne Margaret's husband. Those are the only two people that I'd ever heard of.
And my wife.
Yeah. Okay. So I went back to my regular doctor and he told me, and it's amazing how you remember things. He said, "It's incurable. I will have to be on medication the rest of my life, and it would shorten my life." Now, at the time, I was 52 years old, and it wasn't the kind of report that I wanted to hear. But being a Taurus, I'm very stubborn, and I refused to accept the diagnosis. So I started researching what I could do to make myself healthier, even though I had this incurable disease.
So meanwhile, let me just add that while she was ill, she was extremely weak, especially from the neck up. So she had, her speech was so slurred at times, her vocal cords were so weak. I really couldn't understand what she was saying. This is my wife.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand what she was saying. She also had a problem swallowing, and with her vision, she had double vision as well.
That is
So,
terrifying.
yeah, and there were times when I couldn't even pick my head up. And I mean, it was very severe, but I determined that I had to do everything I could to make myself as healthy as possible. And we started practicing Tai Chi and Qigong. I started taking good quality supplements. We went walking. I was stronger in the morning, so we went walking every morning. Unfortunately, heat affected me. And so being in South Florida, obviously there were times in the summer when it got too hot and I was very weak. And so we started going to Vermont in the summers just to get away from the heat. But I just refused to give in to this. I kept researching and trying to find ways to get better.
Let me add.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Strangely, living in Broward County,
Yeah.
with Dade County to the south and Palm Beach County to the north, with millions of people, I never met another person who had myasthenia gravis.
Wow.
In 2003, oh, by the way, right after I was diagnosed, I felt, this is really strange, I felt something in my chest. My doctor told me, the one who told me that I'd never get better, he told me that you can't feel a growth in your chest. I said, I feel something. He sent me to the hospital for a CT scan. I'll never forget when the technician came out, his face was white. He said, your doctor will call you in an hour.
Oh my gosh.
He called me. He said, you have a growth on your thymus gland. And he sent me to a thoracic surgeon. The thoracic surgeon told us that it was probably lymphoma, in which case, if he opens me up, he can't do anything and he'd have to just close me back up again. He said, if I come back he told Bob and my daughter, if I come back from surgery in 45 minutes, you know that there wasn't anything I could do. Well, again, I refused to accept that as the answer. I went in for the surgery a couple weeks later. He did come back 45 minutes later, but he came, Bob told me because I was out, he says he came bopping into the room and jumped up on the bed and said, it wasn't a tumor. It was a cyst. A cyst the size of like a small apple.
Oh my goodness.
And normally when a person with myasthenia gravis has a thymectomy, they go into remission. But I didn't. And I just kept researching ways to feel better. And I went through, like Bob said, some really bad times. Then, over a period of years, I went to 11 different neurologists. And they all had pretty much the same story, new medications, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we stopped going to Vermont in the summer and went to Western North Carolina, where we live now, for the summer, and decided this would be the place we wanted to move to. The first week we were here, Bob noticed in the local newspaper that there's a myasthenia gravis support group here in the small town of Hendersonville, North Carolina. This is my first experience meeting other people with the disease. And I have to tell you, there were some pretty sick people. Even the leader of the support group was in a wheelchair. And we met some really nice people. But one thing I noticed right away is that everybody was suffering from more than just myasthenia gravis. They had heart disease, they had diabetes, they had lung problems, they had a multitude of diseases, which didn't really surprise me when you think that when your body isn't operating in its optimal way, that other diseases can, take over. So we went to these meetings once a month. I saw some pretty sick people. I didn't really learn a lot. And then one month, they had a nutritional doctor come from Asheville, which is like 45 minutes north of here. And he showed with slides how eating even chicken can affect your immune system. Now, I thought I was eating pretty healthy up till now. We switched to white meat chicken, white meat turkey, fish. We cut out red meat. But now I see that any animal products compromise the immune system. And he recommended reading the China Study by T. Colin Campbell and Diet for a New America by John Robbins. Now, some of you may know that John Robbins was the heir to the Baskin-Robbins dynasty, the ice cream company. But early on in his life, he saw that his father and his uncle, who were the founders of the ice cream company, weren't doing so well. They had heart trouble and other diseases. So he switched to a plant-based diet and moved to California and started living off the land. Okay, so I went out, bought the 2 books, read them cover to cover, and immediately switched to a whole food plant-based diet. Now, at about the same time that this was all happening, Bob had developed a pain in his groin. We'd been doing an awful lot of walking. He went to the urologist. The urologist said, I don't feel anything, but to be on the safe side, let's have a CT scan, which Bob went for. When it came back, we went to the doctor for the results. He said, I don't see anything, urologically, but he says, come, look at the CT scan. You want to tell him what they saw?
Yeah, well, this is a local urologist. He said, I do see a growth on the edge of your left kidney. And he said, I would advise you to go to a specialist because it was a little beyond his comfort zone. So I did get into the Duke Medical Center, which is a world famous cancer and hospital center. And I had a urologist do what's called a cryoablation surgery, wherein he froze this tumor off. He couldn't do a biopsy prior because he thought if it was malignant, it would spread easily if they did a needle biopsy. So he took it off, he froze it off, but the report came back that it was renal cell carcinoma, cancer, kidney cancer. And so both of us are looking at each other like, we're not accepting this either, and we need to do something about it.
Okay, so after reading those 2 books and listening to this dietitian, I immediately went on a whole food plant-based diet. And of course, Bob, with his new issue, came right along with me. And I have to tell you that within weeks, I was off all medication, and I've been symptom-free since 2006.
Yeah.
Wow.
From this incurable disease. And if my life is shortened, I don't know. I hit 80 in May and feel great. I feel better than ever. And I really do believe you are what you eat, obviously. The sad part is that so many doctors give these, tell people that they can't get better and they'd be on medication the rest of their life. And the problem is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but most medical schools are funded by pharmaceutical companies. And so they don't really teach people how to get better. They really want people to control their disease with medication. Okay.
We call this the nocebo effect. So you know what a placebo is, a fake sugar pill or something.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor, we call it a nocebo. They leave you with no hope. They don't talk about natural ways to cure yourself. They don't talk about nutrition because they really have very little hours of study on that, if any. And the first thing they want to do is do tests, give you drugs, send you to the hospital. And we sort of feel that we all should become our own health advocates. In the old days, when Marcus Welby was on TV, and he couldn't make any mistakes, the guy was the perfect doctor. And my parents, I know, worshipped our doctor, and that's all changed. The doctors, I think, do a bit of guesswork.
That's why it's called a practice.
Yeah, they're practicing. So that's our story on how we overcame life-threatening illnesses, and they haven't come back now in some 14 or 15 years. So we have high energy. We rarely ever get even a cold, and we want to let people know that there are alternative ways to make yourself healthy and energized, and especially going into the third of your life. Like people think, well, I'm getting older, so I'm gonna get sick. I know I'm gonna get sick. We don't buy that. Getting older doesn't necessarily mean getting sicker. So,
by the way, our story is not unique.
yes,
there are so many people who have reversed their disease with a whole food plant-based diet. A good friend of ours is going to be 90 years old in March. He was a physician in Columbia, South Carolina for many years, and he had to quit his practice about 10, 15 years ago because he had rheumatoid arthritis so bad that he couldn't function. He switched to a whole food plant-based diet. The pain is gone. And he's not practicing anymore, of course, because he's going to be 90, but he certainly is an advocate and gives talks in South Carolina about the benefits of a whole food diet.
Well, that is so inspiring, and I understand that medical doctors they get like maybe 8 hours of nutrition training.
Yeah.
All of their entire education. That is
if
not
they get that much, yeah.
Yeah, maybe 8 hours. But that is not the focus. They are not educated in nutrition, basically. And so that's all they know. They don't understand stories like yours and the healing powers of foods and lifestyle.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's really, really inspiring. And I hope that people watching will look into those books that you mentioned. But also, I want everyone to know that, the power of your experiences and how much you want to share it with people led you to write a book of your own.
Right. That was our goal. We have written over 100 articles that we compiled into this book, and the idea of the book is to give specific tips and techniques for anyone to adopt these little lifestyle changes that we made for our own well-being. So we taught in the book, and the chapters are very short. They're a page or a page and a half, but there's a little takeaway in each one. And we talk a lot about reducing stress. So stress is a precursor to disease in many cases. We talk about what we say, getting off your butt and your buts, B-U-T-S, which are excuses, but I can't do this. I can't get up in the morning. We don't accept that. So we talk about exercise. We talk about healthy eating, as Fran pointed out. And we have this idea that any of us, whether you're 28 or you're 82, can actually reverse your age. That so you have this youthfulness about you, this high energy, this this stress-free type of life that is so enriching and so much fun, even if you get into your 80s. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Well, I'm super energized to hear your story. Just having you describe that state of stresslessness and being energized, it definitely comes across, and I can see how people can learn from you. The book is called 100 Ways to Be Young at Any Age, and Practical Wisdom to Reverse Your Aging Starting Now. And the authors are Bob and Fran German. Good, there it is.
Doesn't that look just like us?
It does. Did someone do that for you?
Would you believe somebody in Croatia?
Wow.
We look more like, this looks more like us than we look like.
I do want to say you can get this book, and I don't want to overdo the book thing, but we don't keep any money, any of the proceeds from the book. We give all the money. We have a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to abolishing the trafficking of children worldwide. So all the money goes there. The book is $12.95. You can get it on Amazon. And if you choose not to get the book, you can get a lot of these tips and techniques at our YouTube channel. So YouTube is a website that you go to for videos. Most of you probably know what it is. But we have our own little channel, and we feature a lot of the same content as is in the book. But one thing I did notice over the past few years, that we have people that have bought as many as 20 or 30 of these that they gave as holiday gifts. And if you know someone that you think can improve their lives, it's a great gift. So think about that. And all the money goes to saving these kids, keeping them out of the brothels. It's sex trafficking worldwide is a serious issue, and we're going to do something about it together, all of us.
Great. I had a guest on with me. His name is Dr. Lou DiMaria, and he is a geriatrician, he's recently retired geriatrician. And at the end of our conversation, when I mentioned the boomers, he said, yeah, I said, this is really, there's a whole bunch of people who are reaching retirement age now, who have the passion and the skills and the education and the energy to start a whole new chapter of their lives and take on all new projects and do some new things. And he said, we're going to take over the world, or he said, we're going to change the world. So he agreed with that. And that's how I see the two of you, what you're doing. Yes. So that resonates with everybody. And the whole idea of this show is maturing with COA as opposed to aging. Aging obviously has negative connotations, and we just, are we able to continue to develop and progress and become more as we get older? Maturing like wine, or like fruit or flowers or something wonderful that we were able to become. And so the idea that we had was that we could, through River House Presents, have a program that you both agreed to lead based upon your book, to talk about the wisdom and the tips and the information that you have in your book in sort of a discussion kind of a format on Zoom. So we're going to do that. So would you mind sharing with people what your vision for this sort of gathering is?
Well, I'd like it to be, and I think Fran agrees, we'd like it to be interactive. It's not going to be like a formal sit-down lecture. And we want your questions. We want your input. We want your wisdom. It's a two-way street. And through that discussion, sort of a round table or a Zoom table, we'll call it,
Nice.
we can all benefit. We can all learn from each other. And we advocate older people becoming, we say, aging to saging. You can maybe get some tips where you can do some things to help other people, no matter what the age. In our YouTube experience, which we developed only because we needed an activity to do while we were self-isolated with the COVID, it's an amazing, we have an amazing amount of followers that are half our age
Or less.
or our grandkids' age. They want to learn from older people. So I think all of us who are getting older, maybe it's a good idea to share some of this wisdom and experiences with younger people. And we have this little slogan that we use. We say it's important that we feel good, that we look good, and that we do good. And sharing information to me is doing good. It's just one part of it.
I agree.
So I want to say one other thing. I hope you sign up so we can get to know each other and be a part of this instead of it being a show and an audience. And together we can go through some points in the book. There's a million things to talk about. I know stress is, especially with the holidays coming up, stress is a factor. It shouldn't be, because we'll hopefully be with family and friends.
Stress was always a factor during the holidays.
Yeah.
But now with COVID, it adds a whole new dimension to how do you deal with all of this.
So we can maybe read one of these short chapters and then discuss it, or we can do anything you want to do. So we look forward to having as many folks that are fans of the COA, and we can get together for a period of 4 weeks in a row and learn from each other.
That would be awesome. So we're really excited. The date for the program, the first program, is Tuesday, November 10th, which is coming up. It's next week. And it will happen at 1 p.m. And if you would like to sign up, all you need to do is to send me an email. And my email address is ckarger, that's spelled CKARGER, @COASJC.org. And if you send me an email, give me your name, your email address, I will be able to send you a Zoom invitation. And then if we all meet at 5 minutes before 1 p.m. and make sure we have everybody set up the way they need to be, and then we can have a really great discussion. I love that Bob called it a gathering. Let's get together, let's talk about some of these life-changing practices and ways that we can embrace our life force, really, and live energetically the way you have described.
Could you repeat that email address? I didn't write it down fast enough.
Sure. My email address is ckarger @COASJC.org. And if you lose that, you can always call COA. We have receptionists who are on duty every day, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I will make sure that they take down and give you the information that you need, take down your information so we can get you that invitation. But we're really excited. We really hope that you all share about this, and we're looking forward to it so much. Thank you so much, Bob and Fran, as usual.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great time. Thanks for doing this, and we will see you all on Tuesday, November 10th at 1 p.m.
Look forward to it.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.